Okay, it does capture my voice. Let's get back to Citizen Sleeper. It's been like 12 years. Don't worry about it. I'm pretty sure we started off kind of not doing so well, but we're on cycle 40. Right now, we're still in the middle of running away from a dude who is so very disappointed that we would dare to stop being a sleeper. Yeah. This is the rig. Elaine is on the hunt. We want to explore. I don't remember what I was doing. Luckily, this thing will have questions. You need 4. Okay. Oh. That's right. I have no more dice. Therefore, I need to rest. I don't have enough fuel, so yeah, scavenge fuel. Alright. Jean-Mi? Prime ship mind. Chat, I have no active contracts. What am I doing? Locate a ship at Hellion Gate. Okay. Travel to Wellspring. Work the hydroponics. I don't remember what I can do here. I am proficient at interfacing, and that is... What about intuition? Raw scrap and cryo. What do I do with raw scrap again? I don't remember. And cost supplies to make a meal. I don't have a hive mind. Ship mind. Not a hive mind. Okay. Huh. What about here? Oh no. Ah, sorry. I don't mean to sneeze on stream. But I'm physically dying. Just kidding. No, no. Okay, very risky. I guess the only thing to do is this then. Oops. We negative our energy. Okay, I guess it's time to end another day. I guess it's time to go somewhere else. Like, where do I go? Well, there's not a lot I can do there with what I was wanting to do, so I might as well travel. I should have picked up some more money though. I forgot that when you go places, it takes that. What about you, Beltborn Venture? Plus gambler's friend. It was only one. Okay, well, I can align an array. But neither of them have any things that I can get more of. Neither that. What about you? Remembers who you are. Somebody doing something, I swear. I have like negative endurance. This is going to be terrible. Neutral outcome. Neutral outcome. Neutral outcome. Neutral outcome. Neutral outcome. Negative outcome. A kelp-centric bar. Oh. Damn it, I don't have any spores. That's right. Okay, and somewhere around here there's a spot where you can buy fuel. Spindle Trade Hall. Where am I? I'm right here. Map. Fail. Negative 300 during travel. Hellion Gate hangs over the rig. Its corroded arches resemble the dislocated vertebra of some vast, long-dead serpent. That's one big, ugly scrap pile. Seraphim whistles from the pilot seat. Solheim didn't like to build them small. It's kind of beautiful. A monument to hubris. What was it for? Seraphim shakes his head. System's biggest door, only opened if you ask nicely. Got to be big if you want to fit every ship that visits the system through it. Bliss cuts in from the back of the cockpit. Impressive, really, building something so massive out here. Solheim liked to impress visitors, sure. Seraphim leans forward, looking for the best place to enter the structure. Also, hi, Jer. Nice to see you. But they also like to scan entire ships and impound those that didn't enter through the gate. Seraphim catches your eye, looking for some agreement. Not the most admirable qualities. You're sleeping? Very good. Enjoy the sleep. It seems Solheim was a curse on this system. Seraphim nods. Better off without him, that's for sure. I agree, but without them, this system would just be two gas giants and a load of rocks. No harm in recognizing it. You look out to the cockpit towards the gate, its layers of systems and rooms slowly opening the void, peeling away cycle after cycle to reveal the bones underneath. This is where Jean-Mi mentioned you might be able to find the location of a ship with a prime ship mind. Among the old shipping manifests and the Solheim records, you look over the towering structure of the gate. This is going to take some work. Suddenly, a flash high up on the gate catches your eye, a light turning off and on again for a moment. You lose track of it. Is this place inhabited? Seraphim raises an eyebrow. I doubt it. He winks and smiles. You hoping for a station-side bar? I have a feeling you'll be disappointed, unless we find an executive's old liquor cabinet. Bliss pats you on the shoulder and drifts out of the cockpit. Time to see what secrets the gate has left. I'm an engineer. Idle minds. Extract the records. It's risky, that's dangerous. Well, these are the ones that I'm fairly good at, so... Neutral outcome. Interface. Scan the hall, once a bustling entry point. Can almost imagine how the hall once was. With some careful analysis, you should be able to find what was left behind. Okay, search for supplies. Scavenge fuel. Okay, well then we gotta get back to our rig. I'm gonna end the cycle. Okay. Customs hall. Interface. Data scrapping. There's data to be found. What about the Solheim records? I kind of want to know more about this. Vital mines. Oof. -2 energy. Well, I didn't leave myself any. So I guess it's time to make a meal with my supplies. And take a nap. Cycle is ended. Okay. %100 positive. Aha. I finished Idle Minds. In the dark and airless void of the archive, something flickers. You have been working in the dark, picking through the guts of corroded machines, skimming the data in their corrupt memories, digging through a graveyard in search of ghosts. But now, with another flicker, the place begins to come back to life. Oh, I feel like maybe the stream is getting too loud for my voice, especially with the way that I'm whispering. Along the rows of benches, some of them crushed by fallen ceiling panels, terminals begin to flicker into an uneasy life. A cacophony of distorted sounds accompanied the machines as some of them immediately glitch and spark. Did you do this? You stand frozen as the archive glitters around you with a million shipping entries. The stream of information is overwhelming. Node graphs drawing up routes and inventories tracing a web around you in pale cyan. Suddenly, they all shut off, the terminals blinking out together, leaving a single translucent screen glowing softly in the dim room. And in that dim room, drifting towards you out of the dark, you see a figure. Is this what you're looking for? The voice crackles aggressively through your suit's local comms. Who are you? Sleeper? Is that you? You hear Junie's voice now, tense and unsure. She stops behind a single online terminal. Her suited form lit in pale light. Junie! You hear the smile in her voice. Good to see you again. She pauses and glances around, though the venue is a little unexpected. What are you doing here? I'm searching these archives too, although slightly less forcefully than you. I did have this whole speech prepared for whatever salvager was ripping through these archives so messily, not to mention aggressively, but now that I know it was you, well, I'm just glad to see you. Oh, you really need to be more careful. You could have taken the entire archive down with the way you were working with it. These machines are decades old. You can't just rifle through them like they were a scrap pile. I saw the pattern of your queries. A prime ship mind equipped ship. A prime ship. A prime ship. A prime ship mind equipped ship. Still operational at the collapse. Last located in the region around Hellion Gate. You can feel how pleased she is with herself from here. That about right? Nicely done. She nods. Would you expect anything else? That's why I did the hard work for you. Junie beckons you over to the lone lit up terminal. You drift over and see a single point, a faded transit trail beside it, sunward from the Hellion Gate. Something like this, maybe? She smiles and steps aside so you can see the screen. You check the info pane beside the map. Shipmind in use, abandoned by all hands after the collapse, tantalizingly in reach. What can I say? Try thank you, Journey. But Journey turns and in the glow of the terminal meets your eye with complete seriousness. The question is, what do you want it for? Explain about your body. You tell her what Jami told you about your shifting body, transformed by some unknown influence, about the need for a prime shipmind to house your emulated mind while he runs a diagnostic process. She is silent for a moment, unsure how to respond. I'm sorry, Sleeper, but I think I can help you. I want to come with you. Junie gives you a strong look. Do you know how often someone gets out to one of those old Solheim wrecks? They are more trouble than they are worth, but contained inside, there's an entire history to uncover. Uncover and take, you mean? I need that ship mind. And you are welcome to it. She pauses. I promise to help you get what you need and not get in your way. I know I can't force you or trick you into taking me. That's why I wanted to offer you this instead. She indicates the terminal, still showing the ship's final resting place. I hope that, maybe, if I helped you find what you needed, it would show I can be trusted. I trust you, Junie. She smiles. Thank you for saying so. You... I'll send the coordinates to your ship. I'll be hanging around the gate until you're ready to leave. She shifts in front of the terminal, plugs in her deck, tapping away at a rapid speed. If you need to go get supplies from the spindle or anything else, fine. I'll wait. But if you go on this job without me, I'll get the message. She shrugs. You won't see me again. With that, you leave her in the archive, extracting data as you ascend back to Hellion Gate's upper levels. Let's see. Hello, hello, Savage. Welcome in, welcome in. I'm starving. I can still do this. I am once again starving. Imagine if working so hard made you starve. Still... endure. You don't have to, 'cause it's you. Well then. My bad. Okay. I'm just hurting myself. Okay. It would be nice if I could... Okay, I got one supplies. Let's see. This one? I feel like I should take Bliss, but I know there's gotta be some things. There's gotta be something that requires people to have endurance. That's my laundry. My laundry's done. We're too far sunward, sleeper. Seraphim turns back in his chair to look at you. I don't like it. It's hard not to agree. The coordinates Junie found to have drawn you out of Hellion Gate, and almost out of the belt completely, into the soft rubble-strewn transition with the Hellion system, to the edge of Conway-controlled space. That's why this ship is likely to be untouched. Junie surveys the wreck coldly. It's too far sunward for belt traffic to run into, and now with Conway drones patrolling the edge of the belt, it's even less attractive as a salvage site. Lucky us. Junie eyes you, trying to detect if you are being sarcastic or not. I doubt anyone's been in here in decades. So actually, I would say we are lucky. We need to be quick. Agreed. Seraphim flicks a few switches. We should assume the wreck is being watched, or at least is on a patrol route. As you look at the twisted wreck, you swear you see a red light blinking between the stars. You exchange a look with Seraphim. He has seen it too. We better get to it, sleeper. Seraphim begins unclipping from his seat quickly and quietly. From what I understand, Conway drones run on automatic until they detect something of interest. So as long as we are quiet, we don't have to contend with an operator, just automated search sweeps. With no weapons, I'd say we're screwed either way. Eugen shoots you a wink. I'd say better not to be seen, right, sleeper? He gets up out of the corner seat and glides towards the back of the ship to get suited up. You drift out of your chair and head towards the airlock, unable to shake the feeling of being watched. Being here is a risk. You know that, but you need the ship mind. So no matter what happens, you won't be leaving here empty-handed. She's interface. Ugh. Okay, it would have been better to bring Bliss than Eugen then. Okay. That's alright. Junie leads you deep into the wreck, through crushed and twisted corridors, floating panels and wires appearing suddenly in your headlamps like strange sculptures. Just as you begin to tire of the endless dark and the haze of particles washing over your suit, Junie leads you into a chamber where the ceiling is torn open to reveal the stars. At its center lies a cylindrical object, half your height but raised on a complex pedestal, from which countless thick cables snake off into the dark like braided hair. One or two of them float freely, waving back and forth with the glinting severed ends, but most of them disappear into the floor and walls, or twist and curve out of sight. Beautiful, isn't it? Junie stares at the prime ship mind, the stars reflected in her faceplate. Not bad. Junie glides over to the pedestal, pushing her way delicately through the wires. As she takes out her terminal and looks for an access port, she talks softly, her voice carried through the suit comms. These cables lead off to every one of the ship's systems: engines, life support, navigation, lighting, networking, you name it. ShipMind has hardwired access to them all. When an old ship like this was running well, the ShipMind would distribute itself, some of its protocols running freely in different sections. It would be less like a single governing mind and more like a load of systems clumped together to form a complex living machine. Think of a plant rather than a being. A plant with incredibly rapid processing power and much more accelerated response time than your average tree. You watch as she finds an access port and slips a cable inside, slotting a translucent screen into the top edge of her deck. Let's see here. Junie's screen fills with bright scrolling data. Incredible. There's so much here. She hits a few keys. I'll start copying this over. It's everything I need. You watch as Junie starts rapidly tapping at her keyboard, her attention sucked into the data she is extracting. Wait for her to notice. You wait quietly in the ruined chamber, watching the stars through the ripped roof. You can understand Junie's insatiable curiosity. These wrecks are incredible. Junie suddenly snaps out of her trance. Right, where were we? The ShipMind. Let me check. As I thought, she sighs. So, like I was saying, the protocols inside the ShipMind are distributed. So when the ShipMind is shut down unexpectedly, the protocols rarely all contained in this unit. She places a hand gently on the cylinder, as is the case here. Parts of it are trapped elsewhere, in the ship's system nodes. She taps a few keys, which is a problem. There's always a problem. Luckily, Junie turns back to you smiling, you have me. If we rip this thing out now with parts of its protocols everywhere, it's probably going to destroy itself the moment we turn it on. Doesn't matter what, we're going to wipe the whole thing anyway. It'll be too late. The mind inside the ShipMind will be broken. But if we find the nodes housing the distributed parts, power them up, and then disconnect them, the protocols will be sent right back to the ShipMind here, and we can take it out clean. How do we find the nodes? We either ask the cradle very nicely, or we spend the next cycles following these cables to see where they lead. I've got an incoming signal. Seraphine's voice suddenly cuts through on the comms, urgent and nervous. If you're lighting up the systems and networks down there, time to stop. You hear a click as Junie disconnects from the cradle, and the two of you exchange nervous looks, instinctively backing off from the ShipMind. Suddenly, a faint red light glitters in the dark beyond the broken ceiling. You hold still. The moment stretches out, and you hear Junie's breathing through the comms. The light flashes, pauses, then fades. You take a breath. Too close. Conway drone, Junie whispers, sniffing the network. We're clear. Seraphine chimes in again. I've turned off almost all the rig systems, but we need to be careful. Keep network activity to a minimum. Understood, Junie cuts in, but we will need to access the networks to get the ShipMind out quickly. Then I hope you're feeling lucky. There's a click as Seraphine closes the line. You and Junie look at each other again, and then at the ShipMind encased in its cradle, wrapped in cables. This isn't going to be easy. Oof. Oh no, not a Conway alert. Both danger. Oh no. Negative outcome. Okay. Pretty perfect, she said. Come on. I can do this. There we go. Conway's almost alerted. It's ready, sleeper. Junie's voice comes quietly through your comms. You look over to her, floating beside the cradle, lit up by the pale screen of her deck. She gives you a reassuring nod. You turn to the prime ship mine, now floating above its cradle, the final nodes disconnected and the logs released. The locks released. You glide over and gently grab it, the worn metal casing gleaming in the dim light. As you do, you feel a strange sensation of something moving around inside, like a creature in a box. The weight shifting its way and that under this way and that under the pressure of your grip. It suddenly dawns on you that John Mee plans to put you inside this strange device, to hold your mind there, while he investigates your body. The thought prompts a shiver. That drone's still sniffing around, sleeper. Seraphine's voice crackles on the comms, so if you have what you need, let's go. You feel Junie's hand on your shoulder. Come on, sleeper, don't overthink it. She pats you gently. There will be plenty of time for that later. You look up and see a faint red glittering in the dark beyond the broken ceiling. Time to leave. Okay. Leave. Yeah, we're done. We just needed to pick up the ship mind. Arriving back at the Hellion Gate, as lonely and cold as it is, feels like a relief. There was a tension in the rig as you came back out of the inner system, a watchfulness for errant signals and glinting red beacons that choked the conversation. But now, floating in the comforting shadow of this vast ruin, the sense of relief is palpable. That's one prime ship mine, condition unknown, retrieved. Seraphine runs the engine shutdown protocols as he speaks. I'd mark that as a success. We cut it a little close. Agreed. Thank you. Let's head to Flotsam. Seraphine waves away your thanks. We're a crew. We work together. Sleeper, can I speak with you? Junie asks from the back of the cockpit. Of course. She leads you out into the passage, tucking herself against the wall. She looks small, even in this compact space. Thank you for taking me with you. I hope I proved I'm trustworthy. Thank you for helping. That's what I promised. She looks at the floor. In my time here in the Belt, I haven't found it easy to make friends. She falters, tripping over her words slightly. But you, sleeper, well, I hope you'd consider me a friend, at least. I would. She can't help but smile. I'm glad. Then I would like to ask you something. She pauses. Would you consider taking me with you on the rig? She blurts out. And then, before you can answer, I think I would be of help for your diagnostic in the meantime. I can take a look at the ship mind, make sure it's ready, and... Yes, Junie, you can. I'm way too trusting as a sleeper. I don't understand myself either. As a me, I'm not that trusting. She stops, speechless. She looks down at her hands and then back up at you. Okay, she smiles. Thank you. I. She looks down again. I will find a bunk. She quickly glides off down the corridor before you can say anything further. Another stray collected. Seraphin puts a hand on your shoulder. Quite the refuge we're building here. He gives you a sly smile. You don't approve? Seraphin shrugs. You know, I've actually started to warm to this one. She's all right by me. He smiles and pushes off from your shoulder, gliding towards the engine room. You look toward the bunks, but Junie is already out of sight. Likely unpacking already. The ship is getting a little crowded, but you are starting to realize that you like it like that. At the very least, she'll prove invaluable when you get to Flotsam and have to deal with Jean-Mi. Perhaps she'll even have a read on the old man. You pause for a second, appreciating the warmth, the hum of the rig and its inhabitants. This ship, you think, is starting to feel like home. Data archaeologist. You recruited Junie to your crew. Oh, I should probably pick up more fuel. And probably some supplies. I'm gonna hurt myself picking up supplies. Yep, I hurt myself. I hurt myself today to see if I still feel. I focus on the pain, the only thing that's real. The needle tears a hole, the old familiar sting. What have I become? My sweetest friend. Everyone I know goes away in the end. And you could have it all. My empire of dirt. I will let you down. I will make you hurt. Alright, Jean-Mi. Let's give you a ship mind so I can stop attacking my friend who got me out of a bad situation with him specifically. Come, let's get you inside. Jean-Mi swings open the creaking, corroded door beside his booth. Such a prize must have levied a heavy cost. You glance beside you to Junie, who insisted she came along, and on not letting the prime shipmind out of her sight. Your friend too, yes, yes, please come in. Jean-Mi beckons and then turns back and disappears inside. Junie squints at you. Are you sure you trust this one? I'm not sure I do. I don't have a choice. I do. I trust everyone, literally. She sighs, then lead on, I guess. You both squeeze through the door and drift down into the workshop. You are aware of Junie's eyes wandering across the piles and piles of tech on either side, and you wonder if she recognizes anything among the junk. Sit, sleeper. Jean-Mi is already at the chair, arranging his array of articulated arms, and I'll take that ship mind if you please. Hand it over. You hold the ship mind in front of you and give it a small push so it floats gently over to Jean-Mi. He grasps it with both hands and takes it to a neat little work table in the back you didn't see before, where thick cables float lazily tethered to the wall. You slide into the chair, hooking your feet behind the bottom bar to hold yourself in place. You watch as Jean-Mi begins connecting up the prime ship mind. A tremble of nervousness runs along your arms. Suddenly, you feel Junie's hand, clasped around your own. You look over into her face. Is this okay? I want you to know I'm here. Thanks. She nods silently. Jean-Mi, Junie calls across the room, you're going to need to talk us through what you're about to do. Of course, of course. Jean-Mi is slotting an arm-thick cable into the ship mind. A little patience, please. All of this is very technical. He turns to face you both. What is your friend's name, Sleeper? Junie. Junie answers for you. And I can tell that you are using a Solheim-built data cradle, modified to handle a prime ship mind. She rattles off at speed, which will work as long as you manage the data flow through a polymer-clad overflow cable looped into an asynchronous Cortex cache. Yes, Jean-Mi eyes her, a small smile crossing his lips. As I said, technical. What will happen to me? Jean-Mi refocuses on you. It depends, he says while preparing the far end of that thick cable. What you are referring to as me. The problem we have is with your frame, your body, atypical alterations, biosynthetic recoding, unusual growth. Jean-Mi shakes his head. From the diagrammatics I have, these are not typical of frames, even those that have been rebooted as you have. In order to investigate safely, I must transplant your emulation, in basic terms, your mind. But in reality, not so basic. He smiles in an attempt at reassurance. Your emulation is an emulation of a human, of a mind, and a human mind cannot be separated from its sensorium. The mind-body paradigm has long been disproved. Cognition has physical basis. So I must first distribute the emulation between your hardware and the prime ship mind. The hardware will co-run the emulation, like the two lobes of a brain. He puts his hands together as if in prayer, and then slowly separates them. The motion makes you feel sick. Then, for a short period, I will disconnect the two. In those moments, you will, in a sense, be in two places at once, though each lobe will be partial. Too long in this state, and two partial emulations would decay. But each disconnect will allow me a short period of full access to your entire frame and its base system language. I hope this is understandable. Jean-Mi gives you a serious look. One of the most curiously human aspects of sleeper experience is that you too do not inherently understand or conceive the systems that allow your existence. I understand. Jean-Mi nods softly, closing his eyes. Now, before I connect to your frame, let us activate the ship mind. Jean-Mi gestures to Junie. Please, if you would like to come with me to oversee the process, I would be pleased. Junie shoots you a reassuring glance and then glides over to the ship mind, obscuring your view of it. You hear quiet conversation between the two of them, the silhouettes lit by the flickering screen light of scrolling lines of code. You take a calming breath, but are instantly aware of how superfluous that action is when your frame requires no oxygen at all to function. There's a certain sensation that accompanies such thoughts, like a jarring disconnection. Like when descending a staircase, your foot expects a step and finds a void instead. You try to calm the growing anxiety as Junie and Jean-Mi access the mind. The ship mind is pristine. Junie turns back and drifts towards you. Our care in its extraction seems to have paid off. Junie smiles. This is good news. Junie is indeed right. You have done well. Jean-Mi approaches. I am, however, seeing only minor traces of the protocol that the ship mind was designed to house. The one that ran the ship it was installed in. I would expect to see it in full. He angles his head and lifts his shoulders in a slow shrug, but protocols are not easy to track. In the end, it only saves us the step of extracting it from the mind. Instead, I simply wipe the traces. Jean-Mi stops beside you. A protocol, Jean-Mi adds, is not like an emulation, like your emulation. It has no integral physical element. It is data only, and therefore could be anywhere in that ship. In the end, its absence does not concern me. Let's get on with it then. Jean-Mi nods and lifts the far end of the thick cable you saw earlier. You know this is the end that will connect to the port in the back of your head. Junie settles beside you again. She gives you a silent look. It's time. You turn to one side to allow access to the port, your eyes fixed on the far wall. You see something among the piled tech there that you hadn't noticed before. A small metal skull-like head, like that of a doll. You frown, trying to focus on the head, and then the cable connects. You are like a cell dividing, wrenched in two directions at once. The world grows dark, and the cloud rushes in to fill the gap at your center. What happened? You ask a question in your mind, and you feel it travel across the gap as it forms, like a finger drawn across your scalp from ear to ear. But not scalp. You have no scalp. No head. You are stretched out like the skin of a drum, looped like the string of a noose. The smallest vibration echoes across yourself like a ripple across a puddle. And then you feel it, a strong pulse, like a heartbeat, like thunder, like footsteps. A flickering, a trembling, a thought come into being. The thought flickers in front of you, and you recognize that it is not your own. Assist, a burial. Assist, offer help. Assist, a sickness. Hello? Disintegrate. The thought answers. You fold up in blankness, then a moment after you unfold, like waking. Partition, to divide. Apparition, to appear. Perdition, to suffer. Apparition, to appear. Dwelling, indwell, the thought answers. You stretch into infinitude. Then, a moment after, you contract, like waking. In spirit, to hunt inside. Inspire, to grow inside. Instill, to flow inside. Substitute, substrate, the thought answers. Then it approaches. Then it enters. Then it is yours. You split. Then, the moment after, you reform, like waking. And in the cracks that seal up, for a moment in those cracks, something grows. Sleeper, I'm here. Your eyes flick open like shutters. Junie's face is close, her eyes wide. They're awake, she calls over your head. She looks back at you. Easy now. Take it slow. You twist, floating, turning your head as if you were underwater. Feeling the resistance of a body you had already forgotten. How long has it been? You feel a weight you haven't felt in. You're okay, sleeper. Tell us you are there. Junie leans in close. I am okay. Junie smiles. They're okay, she calls to Jean-Mi. I'm glad to hear that. You hear Jean-Mi's voice, and he comes into focus. The process was successful. Jean-Mi floats beside the chair, his hands clasped in a business-like fashion. I was able to access the frame directly, without your emulation being present. I ran the administrator-level diagnostic processes built into its system, and received the results. He takes a moment to gather himself. Your frame is indeed changing. The protein chains that code your biosynthetic organ group's cell replacement have been altered. To put it simply, your body is following a new set of instructions. Didn't the reboot do that? No. The reboot and recoding you underwent simply stopped these protein chains from artificially decaying, breaking your dependence on stabilizer. I don't know. What's wrong with my nose? I swear, I wasn't nasally backed up earlier. As a matter of fact, I spent the whole day feeling perfectly fine. It's just now that I booted up my stream that suddenly my face is unhappy with me. Ugh. Ugh. This process, the entire replacement of your protein chains, could only have been achieved over multiple doses of a specialized substance as a part of a carefully planned process of total substitution. That word sticks in your mind. Substitution. You say it without thinking. Yes, Jean-Mi reacts as if you were speaking to him. I believe it could only have been achieved with one substance as the carrier. Stabilizer. Stabilizer, the drug SNARP designed to make you dependent on them. The drug Lane fed you to keep you alive. The drug you thought you had escaped. Lane, he did this. Jean-Mi does not respond. This kind of process. Jean-Mi hesitates now. You realize the bad news is yet to come. Performed over many, many doses, carefully planned and designed. I cannot think of a way it can be reversed. Jean-Mi looks down. I can say that you are changing. I can tell you how it was achieved. But I can neither stop it nor tell you its ultimate end. I am sorry. I understand. I'm sorry, Sleeper. Junie struggles to find words. Perhaps we can find someone else, or... She falters. Try again. You don't feel able to respond. You quietly push yourself away from the chair, and your thoughts slow to cohere. You glide back to the door, then out into the flow of flotsam, the noise and activity passing by you like smoke. In the haze, you find that word again. Substitute. You try sleep, Meow? Of course, of course. Have a good night, Jer. Thank you for coming and hanging out. And begin to wonder exactly what it is you are becoming. Seraphine once more finds you in your bunk. He gently prods you with questions and you quickly relent. You explain what Jean-Mi said, about your suspicions regarding Lane, and your confusion as to his motivation. You tell him you don't know what this will mean for you in the future. He listens, and when he's done listening, you both sit and wait for the moment to pass. And then you leave the rig, each on your own errands, knowing that the only option is to keep going until you're forced to stop. Oh, I probably should buy a meal. Okay. Oh, there's a debris field. Okay then. I gotta hope that there's some fuel over there that I can find. Sleeper? Bliss speaks quietly from the door at the back of the cockpit. Can we talk? You glance over at Seraphine, his head back and eyes closed while the rig cuts through the empty space. You don't seem to be needed here. You unclip from your harness and follow Bliss. How are you doing? Bliss glances over their shoulder as they drift towards the back of the ship. The question takes you aback. You can't remember the last time anyone had actually asked with real intention how you are. I'm feeling rough. Bliss shoots you a concerned look. To be honest, Sleeper, I'm not sure how you are still standing. Breaking out of Darkside, and then again in Hexport, those things take a toll. Bliss turns a corner, so I think it's okay to feel rough right now. Bliss leads you off the main corridor into the workshop as they set up when they repaired the ship. It is small, but it is neatly arranged tools, and sloped walls help it to feel cozy and tucked away. You see improvements everywhere, new tools and equipment. Bliss notices you looking at their upgraded setup. I told you I'd be worth taking along. Never doubted it. Bliss raises an eyebrow. Well, that's a lie. They smile. Feels good to hear, though. Anyway, I didn't bring you here to brag. They pause. Or at least not just to brag. They suddenly glance away, the atmosphere in the room shifting. I can see your body is showing the strain, Sleeper. I brought you here so we could do something about that. They beckon you towards the workbench, where you both settle into stools. They flick on a small light and aim at your arm. Let them look. Bliss gently cradles your arm, turning it to inspect the underside. You see tears and holes in the vinyl skin and dark moving things underneath. Watch Bliss's work. I would never be able to do this as a person. If you're going to cut open my arm and do things with it, even if you're going to tattoo my arm, I have to look away. For one thing, needles. For another thing, body parts should be inside the epidermis. That's all. You look as Bliss brings the light closer to the biggest tear, and it glints off the metallic tendons in your forearm. Below them you see something more fluid and wet catching the light. You know, you aren't the first sleeper I've met. Bliss talks while they inspect the rest of your arm. I actually partnered with one in my old repair bay on the eye. Feels like 100,000 cycles ago now, but I remember them. Their precise work, their quiet enthusiasm. There was something calming about their presence. Bliss swaps to your other arm. They were different to you, just like one person is different to another, I suppose. But I can't help but remember that time. I was a different person then, that's for sure. They meet your eye. I'm going through something of a transformation myself. How is that going? Bliss lays both your arms down and leans forward to inspect your upper chest, adjusting the light. I was pretending before, I think, to be the person I was expected to be. They press along the hard protrusion of your clavicle. There were so many calculations I was making, so many corrections about how I held myself, how I spoke, how I reacted. They pushed gently against each of your metallic ribs one at a time. I didn't realize how tired I was until they stop and sit back, until I gave up. I came here to the belt with someone else, and when I did, I realized this was my chance to become something new. So I let go of everything. They look away. It was messy, ugly, and the person I came here with, I let them go too. I was punching out at everything because it felt like everything was holding me back, stopping me from the change I was owed. Don't worry, they smile weakly. I'm calmer now. I'm not about to explode on you or anything. It's still a difficult process, but it feels like shedding 100 suffocating skins that you spent half your life putting on one by one. They meet your eye. It feels like an escape. They lean forward again and check the skin of your shoulders where it's worn and faded. You let them. The atmosphere quiet but calm in the workshop. A feeling of solidarity growing somewhere in your frame. Not bad, Sleeper. You're holding up well given everything. Bliss folds their arms in front of them protectively. But I'm still concerned. There is some decline to your system functions. Let's keep an eye out for components. Thank you, Bliss. It's no problem. They release from the stool and drift over to a rack of tools. I owe you for jolting me out of whatever my life had become on the far spindle. You leave Bliss to their workshop, feeling reassured that you have them here on the ship. As you do, you think of your relationship to your own body. This frame that you were forced into that has never quite felt like your own. You realize that this feeling is not unique to you. No one gets to choose their body. Everyone has to contend with the entropy of their flesh. And in that realization, you suddenly feel less alone. Which is, I hear, a common thing that happens when you are going through a transition. Especially when you're on hormones that your body does not naturally produce. And you probably need that for the rest of your life. But you eventually calm down through your transition. So I hear. Lumpen and cratered, Holmes Rock floats on the sunward side of the belt. Its only notable feature, the bright shapes of its solar arrays angled towards the system's distant star. Can't even dock the rig here. Seraphin nods at the bright shape of Holmes Rock alone docking bay. Won't fit. We'll have to park here and go out the airlock. He seems repulsed by the idea. What is this place? Was a Solheim relay station once. Now it's a way station of some sort. Seraphin squints at the rock. Never heard of much happening here, really. Barely seems worth the trip down. Bliss speaks up from the back of the cockpit. There are other ships docked. Yeah, looks like a Lotic freighter. Bliss yawns. I guess they might be up for trading. I'll come down later. Don't feel like squeezing into a suit right now. Bliss gives a lazy wave as they glide out of the cockpit. Eugen pokes his head into the cockpit. That rock down there got a bar? He looks between you and Seraphin. No idea, Seraphin sighs. Looks dead. Eugen squints out the cockpit windows. I see a few warm lights, he shrugs. I bet there's a bar. He disappears in the direction of the airlock. You gaze out over Holmes Rock. It certainly doesn't look very exciting, but there's a refueling to be done, and maybe more besides. You might even be able to scrape up a hot meal. You know, Sleeper, that Lotic freighter means we aren't far from Wellspring. Seraphin gives you a sideways glance. We'll get there. Don't worry. I'm just making sure you haven't forgotten. He smiles. I heard the pressure of the war in the inner system is having an effect on how the Lotic Syndicate is being run. Just want to get there before something big goes down. He turns his back to his console. You look out at the Lotic freighter, painted the same distinctive yellow as the springtide back on the far spindle. You've heard they supply most of the water in the belt. Not exactly an organization you want to collapse. The light catches your eye beyond the rock, a warm flash that is gone as soon as it appears. You're at the sunward edge here, and beyond is the inner system. Holmes Rock might look slippy, but it lies on the shores of a corporate war, something the residents are painfully aware of. And sadly, that is where we have to cut it, because I'm up late and I can't really stay up longer. Let's see, who's even on right now? Cass is on. Zeta Noise is only sleeping. Daniel the Oliver is playing Genshin Impact. And Noodle's playing Crash Bandicoot. I haven't seen Daniel the Oliver in a long time. But I've never rated Noodle. And Noodle's a shroom. So we're gonna raid Noodle. It does not accept raids. Okay. Well then. We're gonna go say hello to Daniel the Oliver. In that case, everyone, remember, you have a human body. If you're going to bed soon like I am, you probably need to brush your teeth. And also possibly floss if you haven't flossed yet today. Other than that, if you're not going to sleep soon, you probably need some water. Everybody is probably dehydrated, more dehydrated than they think that they are. And on top of being dehydrated, I bet you could use some nutrients. You should probably consume some food. And even if you are properly hydrated, you have consumed the nutrients and you're not going to bed soon, you very likely need to do some stretches. And if you're gaming a lot or working at a desk a lot, you probably desperately need some wrist stretches. Don't forget to stretch your wrists. Having less motion in your wrists is very, very bad. Okay, we're ready now. 1, 2, 3, go. Bye.